Zombies has seen many locations that ride the line between realism, absurdity, and fantasy. But one map does this the best of all: Mob of the Dead. Almost 2 million people visit Alcatraz prison every year, including the Golden Gate Bridge, also present in this map. We're talking well over 20 million visitors. And this heavy dose of real-world history injected into the fantasy of Treyarch zombies meant that COD fans were in for a real treat. But with every great story comes some form of controversy, and how befitting of a map based on shady criminals to have a shady history. Transit and Die Rise preceded Mob of the Dead in Black Ops 2, and weren't the most new player-friendly maps. New Zombies director Jason Blundell recognized that and vowed for Mob of the Dead to be very different. This idea is backed up in full force during an interview with Jason Blundell from the now archived Call of Duty Elite website. When asked, with Mob of the Dead, you lay out the plan right at the start. Why the added transparency? Blundell said, "A lot of the prior Zombies maps have very deep Easter eggs, and they're fantastic, and that's a part of the community that we absolutely want to cater to. When it came to Mob of the Dead, we talked about it. Let's just lay it out, almost like an onion. The guy who just sits down and knows nothing about it. Give him a purpose." Layering the onion is exactly what Blundell and the new Zombies team absolutely nailed at Treyarch. This video was sponsored by Perenial. You may be wondering what I'm doing when I'm not playing Zombies, Destiny, Warframe, Helldivers, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Balatro, Animal Well, Hollow. Well, with all the games that I love, what if I told you that Perenial is a love letter to these games? Yeah. Now I have your attention. Perenial offers boss rushes against 15 bosses that will test you in different ways. This utilizes twin stick melee controls, which is a fancy way to say it's very hard. You have one-hit deaths that will directly restart your run at the beginning of an encounter, where you can quickly learn from your mistakes, but again, you will die. You have these things that may look familiar to you if you've played Hollow Knight, called instincts, that allow you to adapt your playstyle for each encounter. Did I also tell you that I love to read Berserk? Yeah, I love a dark and twisted world, and Perenial offers an immersive world of dark fantasy with these mean NPCs we love from Souls. There's even co-op with online and local, so you can both die a lot. One thing I love is that there isn't a crazy UI that has ads for Burger King in the middle of the screen. Perenial has a good art style, solid animation, and a killer soundtrack. Oh, and it's $20 and made by 4 devs. You can't beat that. Link below this video and pick it up now. Thanks for sponsoring me, and shout out to the locked in ad gamers and not the ad skippers. Or did you skip this ad? From the moment you were dropped into the prison, you were instantly tasked with objectives and presented with new mechanics. If you're a newer Zombies player watching this video, then the afterlife mechanic introduced in Mob of the Dead may look like the Aether Shroud field upgrade. This was how you brought the cast of prisoners, Billy Handsome, Michael Finn O'Leary, Salvatore Sal De Luca, and Albert the Weasel Arlington to life. The choice to bring famous actors who are known for gangster films to Alcatraz was an excellent one, not only for the known history of Al Capone and other gangsters on the island's relevancy, but also for breaking up the monotony of one crew. The Victus crew wasn't everyone's favorite, and this was a nice way to give them a break, adding a fresh feel for vets and new players alike. The fresh feel extended well past the cast, however. Afterlife changed the way players powered on perk machines and opened some doors throughout the prison. It also helped Blundell's goal of making Mob of the Dead more new player friendly, allowing players to revive themselves once down. Once you begin to peel back the layers, you realize Afterlife ventured past just unlocking doors and perks, however, playing a vital role inside of Easter eggs, and therefore controversy that we will cover later. Afterlife was clearly the main mechanic of the map, but it was far from the only new feature, and wasn't the only reason players fell in love with the map. Mob of the Dead just felt fresh compared to all of the other maps in Black Ops 2 at the time. The UI was exclusive to this map, the box design was exclusive to the map, and featured period-relevant weapons, like the Uzi, AK, Death Machine, and Tommy Gun. The map also came with a fantastic brand new perk called Electric Cherry, which perfectly tied into the theme of the electric chair and the afterlife, as well as helping the map be even more new player friendly with its aid to survivability. One thing that helps to tie this map and its layers together so beautifully, both for veteran and new players, is that thematically the map is just so simple and straightforward. You're a prisoner trying to escape the prison. Prison escapes are a tale as old as time, and the fact that escaping the prison is a crucial part of the Easter egg simplifies things in a way that wasn't really present in other Black Ops 2 maps, and perfectly encapsulates Blundell's vision to want to make the map more new player friendly. In that same interview with Blundell, he was asked, Was there anything throughout the production of Mob of the Dead that really stood out for you? And the answer is as perfect as it really gets. There was so much, but I'll say this, and it goes with being at Treyarch because we believe in it so much, but the team just rocked it. So I think that in my experience, it's as close to a smooth landing as possible. The creativity flourished. We hit the deadlines for the release date, and it all worked out perfectly. As perfect as you may have hoped for, Mr. Blundell, unfortunately, your team wasn't in charge of their very own weasel. And the Easter egg landing was about as smooth as the plane landing on the Golden Gate Bridge. While there wasn't a Treyarch-sanctioned race for World's First, there were, and still is, millions of eyes on channels that can crack the puzzle for World's First. And while I believe Mob of the Dead to be an almost perfect map, I will say that unfortunately, it's becoming way too common for me to talk about some form of foul play in COD Zombies Easter egg hunts. But history isn't always perfect. Treyarch's goal was to make an Easter egg that was impactful, separate from the main story of Victus, and enticing for even new players to sink into. As with most maps, reaching Pack-a-Punch kicks off the Easter egg. In Mob of the Dead, this was a pretty large quest, requiring players to collect 5 parts before building a plane to fly to one of the world's most iconic bridges, the Golden Gate Bridge. Before taking off, if you had a sniper rifle, you could even scope in for some extra benefits. You know I had to do it to you. And yes, this was the real jump scare on the map. I did not edit this in. Once on the bridge, you were greeted by an influx of wardens, and the only way off the bridge was to execute yourself, a feature that raises more questions than answers at first, but all would become clear by the end of the Easter egg. The map's wonder weapon could be obtained via box RNG or a side Easter egg. Noah J discovered the existence of 5 skulls that could only be seen in Afterlife and retrieved by the good boy Tomahawk, the Hell's Retriever. Once the Blundergat was in hand, it could be upgraded via the Acid Gat kit, making it the very first wonder weapon upgradable by a means other than Pack-a-Punch. With the Acid Gat in hand, the next step was acquiring the spoon. Noah J was the first to post about the Shawshank Redemption Easter egg step. By using the Hell's Retriever, Noah pulled off the poster and the cell blocks. But NGT Zombies Spiderbite discovered that by simply shocking the spoon on the ground between the cells and the pipes, a sound played that was reminiscent of the old mystery box teddy bears. Later that day, Spiderbite posts a video giving credit to a comment saying to check the cafeteria with the Hell's Retriever. So by throwing the Hell's Retriever at the spoon on the wall in the kitchen, this happens. Your number is up. At this point, you may think that the hunt was on and progress was to be made, but somehow the Easter egg had been completed by this point. This is a major turning point of the race, and where the controversy and mystery really began. But I feel like it's important to at least bring you to the end of the Easter egg so you can see where and why foul play was at hand. After the news of World's First already being done, people wanted an explanation on how to finish the achievement Pop the Weasel, and Noah J was the first to give them that, and the only one I will give credit for a legit World's First. Noah explained that the next steps required players to get back to the Golden Gate Bridge 3 times before the Easter egg let them continue. This would mess with the dials in the staircase room, and if I had to guess the significance, I would say that 4 inmates going to the Golden Gate Bridge and using the electric chair might mean something about their spirits being trapped one by one to the prison. This is evident in the next step as the dials were tweaking out. The numbers being flipped around were anagrams for each inmate's prison cell number: 101, 872, 386, and 481. I think you may understand where the story goes from here, and it's a shame that foul play was at hand for World's First, as the next step was probably one of the coolest of all time in zombies. It was the audio tour from the real-life Alcatraz, complement with the same headphones when you listen to the real prison tour, and its narration is amazing. Having grown up in the Bay Area, I visited Alcatraz many times, and the visual comparisons to Mob of the Dead are pretty mind-blowing, and having a zombies map set in a very real and historic location creates an additional layer of depth that some of the more fantasy maps can't compete with. In real life, we don't know if the prisoners of the 1962 Alcatraz escape really made it or not. And the Easter egg also plays nods to this in its grand finale. The final step for the Easter egg was equally as great as the audio tour. Bring your afterlife selves to your real life selves sitting in the electric chair at the Golden Gate Bridge, and fight each other with either the weasel winning and killing everyone, breaking the cycle and ending the game, or you killing the weasel to end the game and keep the Alcatraz cycle remaining whole. This was the first time you could game over your game without going down, and I think that alone is so damn cool. That was unfortunately bounded by the duality that it was cheated for the world's first clear. Speaking of Call of Duty and zombies, I played this on PC, and more specifically, my Starforge PC. Starforge, if you guys don't know, has a brand new sale for Black Friday for up to $400 off of all PCs. You can use my link down below. While Mob of the Dead wasn't the most complex Easter egg we had ever seen, the speed that it was solved was questionable and shady at best. This opened up a whole rabbit hole of digging for me, and I was able to trace back a route of what remains through internet archives, and posts that are still up to discover the shadiness that began on Black Ops 2's subreddit, about 12 days before the map came out, by a user named 3arc Can Suck It. This account was really living up to the name and very angry, with the title saying, "I'm leaking Mob of the Dead, hashtag you, Treyarch." This was an account claiming to have worked with Treyarch during the time of Mob of the Dead, and the post is eerily accurate, pointing to new features like making it new player friendly, adding the cast, ziplining, side Easter eggs, buildable weapons, the specific weapons in the box, and more. It was all too believable when you had the exact weapon names, exact naming conventions of the map, and gimmicks that were new to this map too. Now this is also where there's fallacies in this post too, like claiming perks existed which never came true, a separate purgatory mode that was selectable where you're just high and in the afterlife mode permanently, Brutus, the prison's warden, which is just so far off, and just the wording of things that might have come true to some degree, like pointing out that there's fog around the island and that there is a confusing Easter egg with the cast in space-time, like we haven't seen these things before, and like fog wouldn't be believable on a map on an island with zombies. I'm not saying this post is 100% fake or that it's 100% real. I'm just saying that there is a lot that is very accurate and some that doesn't exactly line up, especially for someone who has worked on the game before. It's also very possible that this user may have shared some more secret info to our world's first team, or hell, to anyone who was willing to message and listen to him, as things can change from dev time to the map's release. And some features, like the return of PhD Flopper, weren't entirely off the mark, as it would return in the Grief game mode and in Buried as a permaperk. On Mob of the Dead, just like Mule Kick, it was a teaser outside of the map. So let's bring you back. This post was 12 days out from release of the map, but then there was even more at play, like an entire achievement list leaking before the map was even out. But the controversy didn't end there, as an even bigger drop and wider rabbit hole would follow, including an array of deleted videos and some attempts at erasure of the story. Play the Game Central made a video of their world's first clear of Mob of the Dead's Easter egg just about an hour after the map had been released, with just the finale shown. At least that's the info I was given by sources around at that time, because the video has been deleted. In this, there was no guide, no explanation, and a lot of foul play claims. So some curious folk looked around and did some digging, and found videos where Play the Game Central was talking about details of the map before it even came out, claiming to have known someone who worked at Treyarch and more. Now, these could be typical vague claims for the sake of playing the viewers, faking a story or a map, or claiming to know what others didn't for some sick YouTube cash, but have a listen to this and see for yourself what you think.
And I think the most important thing on day one, if you're trying to do the Easter egg, sorry, just to come back to that, is that very first lyric in my song. You need to align yourself, which is going to help you greatly, actually.
This paired with all the leaks of the map itself, either true or false, wouldn't be enough to know that foul play was at hand. I mean, I can't just outright call them cheaters when they got information that could have been easily paired with the historical zombie map context and a Reddit post of claims from someone claiming to be a developer. Like, they would have to admit the foul play themselves for me to make that claim. Oh, Oh, they did. Play the Game Central would go on to make a response to this news, stating,
So we'll be showing you that tomorrow. Sorry to sound cryptic, it's just obviously with this kind of response to our videos, which I always knew was going to happen, as I said, I don't particularly feel in a generous mood when it comes to the other people who, from what I've heard, are bad-mouthing us. So for now, we're going to keep it close to play the game and our close friends like Dalek and Ali A and Rad Austin, if you want, all this stuff, all these people that kind of have supported us for a long time, and that is very important to us. And the people who badmouth us are, they're the ones who wait 2 weeks until they actually figure it out.
The difficult place this all falls under is a gray area of what is actually cheating. With no sanctioned or official race to complete the Easter egg first, one could argue it's hard to say anything has been actually cheated here. There's somewhat of a moral issue if you're claiming to be the first to discover something legitimate and bragging about it. So the whole situation is just weird. So I want to know what you think. Was PTG cheating by having access to the map's information 2 days early? Was this some sort of planned out thing? Or was this just a big ruse? It seems like there was also a lot of tension between PTG and NGT Zombies for being the first to get the guides out on both ends. But ultimately, I find myself somewhere in between on this story. It's not as easy to point out given that we don't have access to the original world's first video. But being on the defense and deleting a video at least shows me personally that I lean more into the group having leaked information than anything. From my sources, the video was uploaded before anyone in the community had even found the spoon for the Easter egg step. And with the frequency of Easter egg guide steps being uploaded to YouTube by them before, it's more than likely it was leaked and cheated information. A real shame that a map with as much admiration as Mob of the Dead was tainted by leaking and cheating. But maybe it's befitting. A prison is the right place to cheat after all.